I want you to imagine this. You're in a classroom, sitting at your desk, and the teacher asks a question. You raise your hand with confidence, because you're sure you know the answer. But then, you go further in your studies. You read more books, explore more perspectives, and suddenly what once felt simple now feels complicated. Instead of certainty, you're left with questions. That's the paradox of knowledge. The more you learn, the less sure you become. It's called the knowledge paradox. The unsettling truth that wisdom often grows alongside doubt. Instead of giving us solid ground, learning can feel like pulling up the floorboards, revealing new layers of uncertainty beneath. At first glance, this feels frustrating. Isn't knowledge supposed to make us more confident? Isn't learning supposed to replace doubt with clarity? And yet, history, psychology, and philosophy all tell us the same story. The deeper you go, the wider the mystery becomes. Consider the Dunning-Kruger effect. Psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger discovered that people with the least knowledge in a subject often overestimate their competence, while experts, who know much more, tend to underestimate themselves. In other words, a little knowledge breeds confidence. A lot of knowledge breeds humility, because the more you know, the more you see how much you don't know. Take science itself. The great physicist Isaac Newton revolutionized our understanding of gravity, optics, and motion. Yet, near the end of his life, he wrote, "I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore, diverting myself, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me." Even Newton, one of history's greatest minds, felt dwarfed by the unknown. Or think of Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. His famous declaration was, "I know that I know nothing." At first, it sounds like a riddle, but what he meant was profound. True wisdom isn't in thinking you have the answers, but in recognizing the vastness of what you don't. Now, let's bring this closer to everyday life. Picture Emily, a high school student who aces her biology class. She's convinced she understands how the human body works. But when she takes advanced courses in college, she's stunned by the complexity. What seemed like a straightforward system now unravels into endless layers. Molecular biology, genetics, neurochemistry. Instead of feeling smarter, she feels less certain. And yet, that uncertainty is exactly what pushes her to keep learning. That's the paradox in action. Knowledge expands not by closing questions, but by opening more of them. Psychologists call this epistemic humility, the awareness of the limits of your knowledge. And while it can feel destabilizing, it's also the foundation of progress. Because only when we admit we don't know can we discover something new. But here's the catch. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. As humans, we crave answers. We like clean categories, definite rules, black and white truths. Knowledge often resists that. It paints in shades of gray. It forces us to live in complexity. And many people would rather cling to simple falsehoods than face messy truths. That's why conspiracy theories thrive. They offer certainty in a world where real knowledge requires patience with doubt. Consider Mark, who once believed he understood politics perfectly. His worldview was simple. His side was right, the other side was wrong. But as he read more, studied history, and listened to voices outside his bubble, things got complicated. He saw flaws in his own camp, truths in the other. For a while, this shattered his confidence. But over time, he realized that complexity didn't mean hopelessness. It meant depth. Knowledge hadn't made him less capable. It had made him more compassionate, more nuanced. This paradox also appears in personal growth. When you start working on yourself, you think the solutions are clear. Be disciplined, be positive, work hard. But the deeper you explore psychology, the more you see contradictions. Sometimes discipline helps, sometimes rest heals, sometimes positivity motivates, sometimes it blinds. The more you learn, the fewer simple answers remain. Growth becomes not about mastering certainty, but about navigating complexity with wisdom. Even technology illustrates this. The internet gives us access to more knowledge than ever before. But instead of clarity, it often creates confusion. With so much information, how do we know what's true? Paradoxically, the abundance of knowledge can leave us more uncertain, not less. The skill now isn't just learning facts, it's learning how to question them. So what do we do with this paradox? First, we accept it. We stop expecting knowledge to erase doubt, and instead let it deepen our curiosity. The wisest people aren't those with all the answers, but those asking better questions. Second, we practice humility. When we recognize that our view is partial, we become better listeners, better collaborators, better learners. Humility doesn't weaken knowledge. It strengthens it by keeping us open. And finally, we shift our focus from certainty to growth. The goal of learning isn't to feel smarter every day. It's to see more clearly, even if clarity means recognizing complexity. It's to widen our map of reality, even if the map keeps expanding faster than we can fill it in. The knowledge paradox teaches us that confidence built on shallow knowing is fragile, but humility built on deep knowing is powerful. That certainty is comforting but limiting, while uncertainty is unsettling but expansive. So tonight, as you reflect on what you've learned in your life, don't be discouraged by the questions that remain. Be encouraged that you see them at all. Because the more you know, the more you realize knowledge isn't a fortress of answers, but an endless horizon of questions. And maybe that's the point. Maybe wisdom isn't about standing at the center of certainty, but about sailing the ocean of not knowing, with curiosity as your compass and humility as your anchor.